Now, Eli Clifton and Michael Brooks wrote in Alternet that that there is a developing idea of technology of aircraft carrier-based drones that could expand these wars, these drone strikes, all around the world. And that's potentially a frightening prospect for those of us who like to see transparency in these issues and who want to see that this process be done, if it is going to be done, in a transparent and legal way. And I see that joining us now is Michael Brooks. He's the producer of the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear, Michael. I'm so glad we finally got you on here.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what that was.
Well, Michael, you did a fascinating bit of original reporting, and I was sort of providing an introduction for it right there. In that you co-authored an article with Eli Clifton called "What the John Brennan Hearing Didn't Tell You: Aircraft Carrier-Based Drones Could Expand Covert War Around the Globe." Do we already have aircraft carrier-based drones? And if so, and if not, what is sort of the threat and significance that they pose?
Well, they're actually being tested right now, so they're not deployable yet. There was some photos that came out in November of drones on aircraft carriers, and they won't be deployable until 2019 is actually the date of deployment. And what makes them potentially really significant is they kind of lower another barrier for use of drones around the globe, right? So even now, when we use drones, we still have basing agreements in places like Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia or Niger. So that kind of adds another layer of potential accountability, or at least some type of agreement with other governments around drones. If they're deployable from aircraft carriers, that kind of adds another layer of flexibility to their use, and there already is a lot of flexibility around their use. So that's the kind of potential significance of that technology.
So in theory, these could be used in countries, in just about any country where we have access to an aircraft carrier, which is, we can move aircraft carriers all around the world. Is there any potential strategic upside in this? Because, I think about some of the issues it causes with us having military bases in the Persian Gulf in terms of politically and how that affects the American image abroad. Are there any advantages to this approach in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, there could be, but the best case scenario from that is if they're on aircraft carriers, they might be more likely to kind of be sort of pushed under the rules of military engagement. So if they're taken maybe potentially less out of just sort of covert CIA operations, that might mean that there's potentially more formal accountability for them. I see what you're saying about possibly reducing our base presences in places like Saudi Arabia. Now, that said, I think the whole activity of drone warfare in and of itself is obviously pretty controversial overseas too, and this could accelerate their use even more than they already are now. So it's a double-edged sword. But I think what you said is valid, and we'll see.
Obviously, we're not going to count our chickens before they hatch, or hold our breath that the United States government, the United States military are going to reduce their military presence anywhere. That just hasn't been the pattern. But you spoke to some foreign policy experts, and they are worried that this will make them less likely to be under legal surveillance.
Yeah, because what it does is it adds another layer of flexibility to use these weapons, right? So even with basing agreements and having to negotiate with foreign governments, that it's already a really unrestrained program, obviously, but you're taking away one of the few barriers to even greater flexibility in the deployment. So the people that we spoke to, that's what they're most prominently concerned about. And then it's the other kind of broader idea being that we're having our first sort of limited discussion with the Brennan nomination around putting drones under some type of legal framework, and we're pretty far behind in that discussion. And just as that discussion is just barely beginning, we're potentially on the verge of another level or jump in sophistication of technology. And those were the kind of two core concerns that we heard expressed.
Another case of the legal infrastructure not catching up fast enough to the technology. It's a fascinating story. I encourage you to read it on Alternet, all of our listeners and all of our viewers. It's an article by Eli Clifton and Michael Brooks. Michael, we got just 1 second left. Thanks so much for joining us. And you can catch Michael every day on the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. It's at 12 o'clock?
It's noon every day, noon
12 noon Eastern, and it's great stuff. Michael's a really great up-and-coming commentator and reporter.